Awesome, guys. I think we are live. We're going to be pulling my picture up here in a second. Make sure everything's kind of on here so you can see it. Let me also get my chat up. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Open Studio Hours. My name is Emmy Kline. I am the resident artist here at Jerry's Artorama. And essentially what this is just me working for an hour. And you guys get to kind of pop in the chat and say hello, where you're from. If you've had any questions about art stuff, so a process, it doesn't have to do with anything that I'm working on the table. It doesn't have to do with anything of this. But if you have any questions about watercolors, acrylics, oils, any of it, just pop it in the chat. I'm going to actually pull up my chat now. See if I can get it to pull up. And then as soon as I get this going, we'll be able to talk. If I can get this to load. Maybe. Might have to elicit the help of the Katie.
No, it's just take a second.
Oh man, am I gonna have to repeat all of that? Is it officially live?
You're live, but...
Okay, good. I am live. Just making sure. Alright, so everyone just bear with us. We're getting chats up and going. But feel free to pop anything in the chat. It will load on my screen once I actually get it up here. But, to give you guys an idea of what I'm doing, I'm going to actually be working in Lucas 1862 oils, and I am going to be painting this image that I have off camera. So, beautiful sunset. This is actually taken by my Jerry's Live moderator, who you guys lovingly know as Frida. So Frida took this picture on her way into work one day. So this is a sunrise of Raleigh. So I'm going to be painting that today while I chat with you all. Is this still up? There we go. I officially got it up. Haha. All right. Cool. So that will pop up whenever you guys write things. Alright, so I'm going to get started. So how I usually start my oil paintings is I tone my canvas, and the way that I do this is I start off with one color. 9 times out of 10 it's going to be burnt sienna. But today I wanted to actually start out with quinacridone magenta. So it's a very lovely, like purpley pink red. And I'm going to actually do my initial sketch with it, with my giant brush here and some Chelsea Classical Studio Spike Oil. So there's my quinacridone magenta. And please excuse the glare on my glass palette, but that'll go away as I start adding more colors. And I'm just going to start going in. More or less goes across here like that. It's a little median that comes in. Just gonna big basic shapes kind of a thing right now. Hello. All right, I can start seeing chats coming in. Awesome. So big washes. Just woke up to me. Haha, that's awesome. Welcome to the art shenanigans, Jane. Alright, so I think I got that a little high initially, but that's alright. Gives me a nice kind of directional shape. And I don't technically have to exactly replicate what I see in the image. That is my own artistic license. I can do whatever I want. This is just a big old dark shape though. then there is some trees that kind of come in on this side. Which I think I'm gonna kind of make that a little bit more so, just to kind of balance it out. Alright. And then let's start. Actually, I need more spike oil on this. Soapy. Reading a post on Indian Yellow on Golden's blog. Ooh, Golden has some really fantastic information on their website, I gotta say. It's a really nice resource for us artists. So, do tell. What were you reading about the Indian Yellow? Because, love me some colors. That's all gonna be orange. Pops up and over.
Okay.
Am I using any medium? Right now I am just using the Lucas 1862, and I am thinning it down with my Chelsea Classical Studio Spike Oil. So it works just like turpentine, which is why it's real thin. And it's hard to kind of see with the glare on my palette here. But it's real thin. You can see it's almost transparent down here. So that's what, it works just like turpentine or any other solvent, but it will start breaking up my oils so I can get nice thin washes, because remember with oils you do the fat over lean method. So if you make sure to use less oil content when you first start off a painting like this, you can layer and layer and layer, and that way it won't really have any kind of a adhesion issue further down the road. Remember, I'm just starting off with one color and I'm just kind of blocking in big shapes. And if anybody's interested, I'm using the Edge canvas. So this one right here, it's real thick. I think this is the 1.5 inches or something like that, but it's got the nice corners on it, so if I wanted to not have to put this in a frame, I can continue my painting around the edges of the canvas, which is pretty awesome, and then I can just hang it on the wall without a frame, although, you know, framing looks fantastic as well, but framing is not inexpensive for sure, so. All right, oh, we got some comments. Let's see. Sample of real Indian Yellow and perform some analysis on it. Share their data and results. Oh, I've got to look that up because I do love those kind of tests that they do. Being a chemist. Oh, you're a chemist. All right. Looking into the data, downloading the papers they reference. That's really awesome. I'm gonna have to definitely look that up. I have not seen that. All right, let's pop in some colors here. So I'm gonna start with this blue because I feel like it's gonna mix in with this magenta quite nicely over here. Still keeping it nice and thin though. So it's gonna give me some nice, lovely purples as it kind of mixes on the canvas here. Is it Erin? Hello. I feel like it needs to go together. Erin. E-R-I. How would you pronounce that? Tell me how to pronounce your name. I have not a clue.
Erin?
Erin? That's what I said. It was E-R-I space N. Feels like Erin. Could be wrong. Alright. Pop some blue down here. watercolor artist and also chemist. Ah, that's awesome. Conversations I love. Alright, leave that for my oranges that are going to come in. Alright. One thing I love about sunsets is that even if you technically don't follow along with the reference and you kind of mess up some things, no one knows. It's like that one video thing that keeps popping up on my feed. How are they gonna know? No one's gonna know. How are they gonna know? They won't know. Alright, so I'm not gonna worry about keeping my branch nice and crisp, because I still want my sky to kind of go through the branches and stuff, so I still want that visible. But I do want to knock out all of that white that's on my canvas. So it's a combination of like toning and drawing at the same time. Color by Victoria Finlay. I have not read that. I want to read that. Fun read. Natural History of the Palette. That is fantastic sounding. All the things and books that I need to read. Alright, that's going to be for orange. Pop that up. There's even a couple little swipes of blue down here, but I might really start getting that in there towards the end. Purpley blue. How would they know? Ah, yes. I can't wait to see this finished piece either. It's going to be so pretty. And Jane, yes, I can repeat the medium. It is Chelsea Classical Studio Spike Oil. So it acts just like turpentine or any other solvent, but no, it is not toxic. It has no known carcinogens. So I actually have it open on my table right here, and it's lavender based. So it does have a lavender scent to it, but it doesn't, like, it's not super like chemically smelling. It smells like plants, you know, almost like essential oils. Like if you were to leave a bottle of essential oil open,
like a spa.
It does. It reminds me of a spa. So it does have a smell to it, so just be aware of that. But it's not carcinogenic, so it won't give you, it's not cancer causing, as they say. All right, so I need to, you know what, I actually just cleaned my brush, but I need some of this purple. I'm gonna actually mix these two together. Which actually, this right here in the middle is purple. It's Cobalt Violet. So, to let everyone know what I have on my palette. Like I said, this is the Lucas 1862 professional level oil paints. So they're mixed with a little bit of beeswax, so it has a really nice creamy consistency. But the colors I have on my palette right now are, this is Cadmium Yellow Light. This is, can't read, oh man, my eyeballs are getting old. I have to pull it closer. This is Cadmium Orange. This is that Quinacridone Magenta. This is Cobalt Violet Hue, right? Yeah. And then this is Cobalt Violet, or I'm sorry, not Cobalt Violet, Cobalt Blue. This is Cobalt Teal. I have a lot of cobalts on my palette right now. These two right here is burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. So that's usually what I mix together to make my black. So right here where I have all the tree line, I'm gonna mix that to get a really, really dark tone. And then I'm gonna use that as my black. And then I have just titanium white down here in the corner. Now I do have a couple other colors up here on my table. I just haven't decided of whether or not I'm gonna use those. I'm probably gonna stick with what I already have on my palette, but I can always pop those back in. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, you guys are just talking about the books and stuff. That's awesome. I really have got to go check out that book. That sounds awesome.
I want to give you something to tilt here.
Tilt my palette with?
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, here. Vanish eraser. Yeah, that glare is kind of killer, isn't it?
Right there.
So I'm going to stick an eraser just under the corner here. Or under the back edge without hopefully getting oil paint on my hand. Does that work? Nope.
Oh, we need to go the other way.
Yep. I mean, I can work with it tilted this way. That looks better.
Yeah.
I don't think I can really do that. That's just way tilted. It looks great, but everything is gonna slide off. I'll try to stay back here so you guys can see it without that glare. Maybe I can push it a little bit. That glare is killer. Sorry. It's lights. What are you gonna do?
Glass palette.
Yeah, lights with a glass palette. That's what I was gonna do. Add just a little bit of this titanium white, just to lighten it up a bit. This is gonna be my road. Real thin. Kind of disappears off into the thing. Wow, these are some real fun colors. Alright, now we gotta start building this, huh? This palette, this is the New Wave, I always get this wrong. I always want to say New Wave something else. It's the New Wave gray toned glass palette. My personal preference is what?
The Posh.
The Poshmark, that's what it is.
No, Posh.
No,
Just
that's
Posh.
what I want to do every time. I want to call it Poshmark. It's Posh, not Poshmark, sorry. Posh New Wave gray toned glass palette. That's what this is. I prefer the gray tone because it's a nice neutral tone that allows me to really see my colors a lot better than whether or not it's on like a white surface or like the brown wood. I personally don't like that. I like the gray tone. It's just better for my eyes. And then I like the glass palette with oil paints because I usually take one of these, a little scraper, so it has a razor blade in there. And when I need to clean this off, I just scrape it off nice and gently so you don't scratch your glass because you can scratch it. But that's how I clean this off and get it ready for my next painting session. I find glass palettes are much easier to clean. Especially when you're done painting. Like instantly done painting. Don't let it just sit there. Although that's why I do like the glass palettes, because if I do let it sit there, you can actually take all of that back off without too much of a hassle. It's not too difficult to do so. Sorry. And these right here are white cotton. It's the Easy Wipers. These are just cotton rags. They are really nice because I can reuse them. Like I have some down here that I've used several times over. I'll wash them out and then reuse them again. I like to try to keep my waist levels down, you know? Or at least be fully aware of what I'm doing. Alright, so let's pop some of these oranges in. Washier in there. Break it up with some spike oil. Then this is all very orange. Now just remember, your cadmiums are extremely strong. They are very, very strong colors. So a little goes a long way with these. But remember, reminder for you guys, if you do have any questions about anything art related, it doesn't have to do with what I'm doing right here and now. But if you had any questions on anything, really, feel free to pop that in the chat. That's the whole point of me being here, so you guys can ask those questions that, you know, you haven't been able to ask. Whether it be for like the Jerry's Live show, or you just happen to have something happen in your studio and you wanted to know answers. Or if you just want to watch me paint, that's also acceptable. Alright. It's going to get real lovely yellows in there too. Okay, love the colors. Thank you. That's the picture that Frida took is just fantastic. Just so, as a reminder, this is what I'm painting it, or basing this off of. So, the colors in it initially are just so vibrant. They're so pretty. Frida was driving into work, saw this lovely array of colors coming in from the sunrise, because she gets up so early. But she's got her boys that she's got to take to school and everything, so she's always up at the crack of dawn, as they say. So she always gets to see the pretty colors. Plus, I always have friends that like send me pictures like this. They're like, "Isn't this so lovely?" Like, yes, can I paint this on a show, please? I love it when my friends send me pictures of stuff like this. Alright, so I kind of need to. The other really awesome thing I do love to do with oil paints is, like, I'm cleaning off my brush mostly. I get the excess spike oil off of there. And then I'm going to kind of move this around and lighten that tone up. Because as you go back to the horizon line, your colors seem to get lighter. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why is because of the curvature of the earth. And that causes everything to appear much, much lighter as you get closer to the horizon. Something about like an ozone that you're gonna have to go through more of it. Something like that. It's been a while since I've looked that up. But I'm just going to kind of blend these out and kind of pick up that pigment. Now I can definitely pop in some titanium white to lighten that up as well. But remember, I'm using that fat over lean rule, so I want to keep the oil content in this first initial layer really low. So to lighten something, I'm just going to take spike oil and pull that up off of my canvas, almost like when watercolorists pull pigment up by getting it wet and then dabbing a, you know, like a paper towel or something onto their canvas. Same concept, which I can actually use this as a tool as well, which is fun. I am tempted though to grab some painting butter. I don't know if you guys are familiar with painting butter. and thicken up my paint and start using a palette knife to paint this. Get real globby paints. That would be real pretty. Let's see. How much real time did I spend painting the Statue of Liberty? What was it, like 6 hours?
Yeah.
About 6 hours. I tend to paint pretty fast. That one gave me some hang-ups, because I mean, you saw on the actual painting that when I was working with the Statue of Liberty, the first initial painting where I laid down that orangey kind of red tone, I was fiddling with the drawing, and that aspect of it took me a lot longer, just because it was one of those things where I was fighting with the drawing. It doesn't always happen to me, but sometimes I get one where I have to just work on that drawing for an extended period of time. But that one took me about 6 hours. Usually something like that on average would take me like 3-4 hours, but that one was just a little bit longer. But I paint fast, so just be aware of that. And the reason why I paint fast, just so everyone is fully aware, I paint a lot. I started in college. I had an instructor that gave me 35 paintings, and I had to complete it in 2 weeks. That seems absolutely insane, but you just have to pace yourself. So you're like, okay, I have 2 weeks, I have 35 paintings, 35 divided by 14 means I have to get so many done per day. And if you get behind, you have to do extra the next day. And it's the reason why he was doing that with us is just to make sure that you know when you have deadlines, you hit your deadlines, period, the end. If you don't have the time or the ability, then you also know your level of where you can and cannot, like what you are capable of. So if you just know yourself and know that your process of creating art is a lot longer than that, you can say no to doing a commissioned piece and not get yourself in trouble, as opposed to saying yes and then all of a sudden you're scrambling to get everything done, or you're doing it and not getting it done to the level of what you should be doing. But that's one of the reasons it started off like that. That's part of the reason why I paint so quickly. Just got a phone alert for this live. Seems it was a very tardy alert. Yeah, I think it was just slightly delayed. I mean, there is a delay when it comes to...
YouTube's been being a little weird with the notifications lately. I don't know why.
I don't know what's going on with the notifications. Yeah, maybe it's just real busy. But know that there's also a delay from when you guys type things in and when I say them, and then an extra delay on that. But I can still read your comments. Sorry, reading and talking is not my forte, by the way. This is why I have moderators for the Jerry's Live group, and they tell me what you said.
Yeah.
Let's see. I took it. Oh, Frida's in the chat. I took a photograph at a stoplight, in case anybody was wondering. Yes, she does not photograph and drive. Brush cleaner container. I believe this is also the Da Vinci brush washer. There is on the Chelsea Classical Studio, where the spike oil, the page for that, there's actually a set. You get a 16-ounce bottle and the brush washing basin for, it's like a set of them. They come together, and the 16-ounce fills this perfectly without having to keep some in a jar for later. But I always keep the jars anyway, so when I have the sludge, I can pour it off and then let it settle and then pour it back into my container and reuse it that way. But the Da Vinci brush washing basin, that is available on jerrysartorama.com. We sell those, so you can get both of them as a set, and I believe there's a discount when you buy them together. Photograph and drive. Earth is flat. You know what, when I said the curvature of the earth, I was wondering if someone was going to say that the earth is flat. Alright. I knew you guys are going to bring it up. That's great. No, I'm not using carmine. What I have, and I've repeated it earlier, this really bright magenta color is quinacridone magenta. It's one of the newer colors for the Lucas 1862 line, and I just love it. It's so bright and such a pretty color. Yep, PR 122, is that? Yep, it's got the PR 122 is the pigment. So that is like a standard magenta pigment, quinacridone magenta specifically. So, all right, let me get back to painting because otherwise I'm never gonna finish this. But if you guys do have any questions, pop them in the chat. Feel free. They don't have to do with oil painting or whether or not the earth is flat.
It's the Newton brush washer.
Is it the Newton?
Mm-hmm. It's the one that comes with the set.
I thought it was the Da Vinci. Well, actually, you know what's funny? The brush cleaner, the Chelsea Classical Studio brush cleaner, which is what I have over here, and I always, with a Sharpie, write it down on whether or not it's the brush cleaner or the spike oil. So my spike oil has, sorry, I'm trying to make it to where the glare doesn't come over there. I write it down on the thing so I don't have to guess which one's which. But I think the brush cleaner comes with the Da Vinci brush washing basin, and the spike oil is the Newton. So it's one or the other. They're identical, to be honest, not gonna lie. They are the same thing. It's a metal pot with a lid, the 3 clamps, and a handle. And it's got the little grate inside of it, to where this right here is where you wash your brushes out, and the holes kind of move your bristles around without damaging your brush too much. Alright, so this is that cadmium. Clarify for me what is a practical use between lavender oil and the spike oil. When you say lavender oil, do you mean like a lavender essential oil, or like, because I know that the Chelsea Classical Studio has a lot of different mediums and things that they use, and a lot of it's based off of the lavender. So I just want to make sure before I answer that I know what you mean. Yep, carried by 4 elephants on the back of a turtle. Yes, Frida. Do love it. Pop in some of these nice yellows. Remember, I'm still using the really big 24 filbert brush. This is the Hamburg Premier, in case you guys didn't know. The ratio of paintings and how much time. It was, I believe, 35 paintings in 2 weeks. It's been a really long time since I've been in college, but it was something ridiculous like that. But it was, you either passed or failed. And then if you got all your paintings done, then we did critiques on, how well you did, and then on top of your work. But it was intense. It was not an easy class, not an easy education. But let's be honest, if your education is easy, then you are not being challenged, and you should be. Let me see. Just making sure I'm not missing any comments over here. Alright, now I'm going to actually switch to a smaller brush. And by the way, I had to use all of my brushes, and I'm putting them in my apron, which, these are long handle brushes, and I'm wearing the New York Central apron, and they fit completely into my pocket without having much of it sticking out. They fit long handle brushes. I absolutely love that, but just FYI, if you're wondering where I'm pulling all the brushes out, it's in my apron. But I couldn't leave it on the table, because if I had them over here, I would have to move my my screen, and then if I had it anywhere else, I'd probably bump them into my actual painting, which is not fun at all. So let's do some clouds here. Goal setting idea. Yeah, no, it's when you have an excessive amount of work, you have to set goals. Or even if you're just trying to make sure that you are pushing yourself, it's just one of those things that, like, if you know your work abilities, like, I am a procrastinator. I will admit it, I am a complete procrastinator. I will put everything off to the last minute. Katie can attest to this. Although I'm not usually that bad.
Turtle for Friday.
Yep, I still haven't done the artwork that I need to do for our filming tomorrow, but I'll get it done. I just know how long it's gonna take me, and I'm like, I have time. It's tomorrow. I have time. But I knew I was gonna do this, and it's one of those things that, like, I was aware that if I was doing that turtle on this here, I probably wouldn't get it done to the level of what I wanted to do, but it's okay. I will still get it done. But just be aware, if you are someone who is like me and you procrastinate and you just push things off to a later time, like, that's a problem for future me. Just make sure you put yourself some serious guidelines of, like, well, if I push it off now, I will absolutely get to it, and I have to have it finished by X amount of time, you know? And that's what I end up doing, because otherwise I'd get myself in trouble. Especially if you're doing commissions and artwork, and you have a long list of people in line waiting for your artwork, because you want to, right? Because that's, people are paying you for money to do art, which is fantastic, but if you become the person who is unreliable, it's not good. You don't want to be unreliable, and especially in the art industry. It's such a small industry. You don't want to be known as that person, you know? All right, so I'm putting a little bit more pigment in here. I still have spike oil in here, so it's still a nice thin wash, but there's a little bit more pigment in it. Who else is a procrastinator, though? Tell me, please. Make sure that I'm not alone. Katie? Katie, are you really a procrastinator? I feel like you're not. I can never tell if you're procrastinating. I mean, you always get everything done. Everything.
I get it done, but I always wait. I think it's not necessarily like procrastinating. It's like I have so many things to get done that as long as it's done before it's due, it's not procrastinator.
It's not That's true.
It's still done. Doesn't matter if I did it the night before. It's still done.
Yeah, I don't know if yours really counts as procrastination because you're just really busy. Will there be a repeat of this on YouTube? Yes, absolutely. There will be a repeat of this on YouTube. Once we're done here, it will be automatically available for rewatching. Frida raises hands, raises both hands. Yay! I am not alone. Plan, prepare, days ahead. Then you just do something else. Good, it's not just me. I've definitely done that as well. Like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be on it, I'm gonna be prepared, and then, like, when we had filming that one day, I was just like, I am not prepared at all. I didn't sleep. Didn't even prepare my brain.
It's okay, you wing it well.
I do wing it well, thank you. Know your strengths.
That's a skill in itself.
Winging it?
Winging it well.
Yeah. Alright, so if it's much lighter down here at my horizon line, it needs to be darker up here at the top of my painting, which is where my darker blues and purples are going to come in. Alright. Definitely want to pop some in here. But I don't want to pop it in too much because I still want those fluffy clouds kind of going around. Take it around, Sam. What's that from? SpongeBob? Tell me you're a mom without telling me you're a mom. You quote SpongeBob on a regular basis. No judgments though. Alright, I need that to be more purple and maybe a little bit more on the magenta-y side, but I still need it to be lighter than that. Oh, that's a lovely color. Ooh, look at that. Pretty. I'm not too worried about the marks that I'm making, but I am rotating my brush around. So like if I know the cloud edge is on this side, I usually put the edge of my brush there and then drag it in, because it kind of still mixes with your paints a little bit as you drag and lift. So just trying to be aware of that. Make sure I'm not missing any commentary, because I will totally get into this painting and forget that you guys are actually talking to me. There's a dark little cloud over here. Now, side note, this is open studio hours, so you're probably hearing people going in and out, and like, that's just...
We're in the studio.
Yep, we're in the studio. Still need some spike oil to thin that out a little bit. Am I using a reference photo that you can't see? Yes, I am. I've actually popped it onto the camera a couple times. It's this right here. Now, what's great about painting clouds and kind of a skyline like this is that if I don't get it perfect, it's okay. But yes, I am using a reference. Frida took that lovely photo on her way into work. So I just wanted to paint it because it's pretty. And I have friends that send me pictures of things that they were like, this would be lovely to paint. Happens a lot, actually. And I'm okay with that. Clarification, what is the use and functional difference between the brush cleaner and the spike oil? That's a great question. Non-toxic alternatives you love as well. Alright, so let me take that into chunks. So the difference between spike oil and the brush cleaner. So remember, this is my spike oil, this is my brush cleaner. So brush cleaner, I'm going to use specifically just to clean my brushes. So at the end of this, I'm going to try and get as much pigment off my brushes as possible. I'm going to rinse them off in my brush cleaner. Spike oil I use as a solvent to thin down my painting, my oils as I'm painting. So if I need a thin wash, like when I first started off my painting, excuse me, that's what I use the spike oil for. The brush cleaner is essentially the exact same thing, only much, much, much stronger. So the brush cleaner will break your oils down faster, so technically you can use that as a solvent to paint with. You just need a very small amount. And so small that like I would say that it's kind of dangerous to use that because you're going to have adhesion issues because it's going to break down your oils a little too much. But if you get into the habit of doing that on a regular basis, you'll get used to it and you'll know where that kind of level is and you can do it that way. But I just have both, so I use that as my painting medium and then I use that to clean my brush. Now, any other non-toxic alternatives I love, I've used the Eco House has a citrus thinner. It's not non-toxic, but it's a very low toxicity. So it is really nice. Before I was using the Chelsea Classical Studio. That's the one that I would kind of go to because I like having non-toxic things because I would like to live for a very long time. I want to be, well, let's be honest, I want to be immortal, but eventually this will all catch up to me. But I just, you know, doing art is a little dangerous and you just kind of have to make sure that you take proper precautions, and one of which being don't use super not toxic solvents in an enclosed space. Make sure you have ventilation, you know, goes down the line of all the things that we need to make sure we do. But I just love using a non-toxic thing just because I don't have to really worry about it at that point. That's why I love the Chelsea Classical Studio, because it's non-carcinogenic and I don't have to worry about it if I'm breathing it in. But it's pretty nice to have. And
you should also say we are in a very large, open, high-ceiling studio.
Huge studio. There's a lot of ventilation here. That's why I'm not too worried about closing this right now. But if I were in my house, I'd have my windows open, or my, any kind of like a, what's the machine that sucks the air out of your house?
A fan?
It's not a fan. There's a word for it.
An air purifier?
Is it air purifier? I think it's a I want to say it's a ventilator, but like I think that there's a different word for it. It's a machine that literally just like blows everything out. It's essentially a fan. If you put a fan in your window. Something like that. I can't remember the word right now, but if anybody can help me out here, one of those. It's just really good to be able to take that smell out of your house. Actually, in my parents' house, they have it built into the attic. It's really awesome. You flip a switch, open the windows, and everything gets sucked in and out because it's an older house. It is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's an older house and it's built in.
Yeah. And it's in Florida.
Yes, it's also in Florida. So. Let me make sure I got all the other questions. 100% yes. Procrastination. What a way to wake up. I'm glad you guys got to wake up with us. Good morning or afternoon or whatever it is, Might be nighttime and you work at night.
That's not where everybody is.
That's true. Good day. Good day to you. Alright, let me get back to this painting. So what's funny is that over here, I'm looking at this kind of purpley fuchsia that I had mixed, and then as I'm laying it down over here, it's so much darker than I thought it was. It's funny because you just gotta kind of be able to reference what you're doing and then adjust it. I'm a reactionary kind of a painter, so if I figure out that it's way too dark and way too purple, I will adjust it on my palette and then come back over here and then continue to do these little tiny blobs of paint here and there. But I'm starting to get thick. How are we doing on time? Ooh, I only got like
12 minutes left.
12 minutes.
Well, maybe a few more because it took us a little to get.
It did. I mean, if you guys want to have us go a little late, let me know in the comments. Katie's gonna kill me, but if you want to continue watching me paint, let me know. Now you'll see me I'm bouncing around in my painting just because I want to make sure I get this color all over the place. And I don't want to just focus on one side and then work my way over, because I tend to have a consistency in color issues if I do that. And so this way it seems far more harmonious to where I can actually paint a little here, paint a little over here, and that color is going to bounce around all throughout my painting. Yeah, longer is better. Greetings from Rome. How is it going in Rome? What's the time in Rome? It's afternoon here. I don't even know what time zone that's in, but welcome. That's awesome. Man, I want to go to Rome. I have a trip in, I'm going to France for a artist residency next year, and I just cannot wait. I am so excited. Really need to work on my French. Really need to work on my French. Because I don't want to be that guy that goes over there and is like, do you speak English? You know, which is okay, but I have time, I should learn the language. A little bit more than I do. The issue is that I've started to learn French, and then I started to learn Spanish, and then I also started to learn Portuguese because I had a couple friends who are from Brazil. And so now all of those languages get jumbled up in my head. They're all very similar Latin-based languages, which is Not easy for me to keep straight, but I need to fix that.
Portuguese is a difficult language to learn.
Yes, it is.
It's really pretty, but
it is
supposed to be one of the
fantastic.
harder ones, I believe.
Yeah. Now, granted, one of the absolute hardest languages to learn, English.
Yeah, right?
Especially American English, because we have rules, and
Make
then
no sense.
we break them, and then we're like, but the rule, and then we break it again. So anybody whose first language is not English, you're a genius. And especially if you learned and retained all of our nonsense. 9:50 p.m. Wow, that's awesome. All right, working on a similar sunset stuff for the last few weeks. You want to see how far I go? Even if it takes an hour or two. This will probably take me to fully render it. If I were to sit here and do this of my own volition, probably a good 2 hours. But I don't think Katie's gonna let me do that.
I'll let you go a little long.
She'll go let me go a little longer, but not 2 hours long, sorry. I will post this finished painting though to my Instagram. I will do that. So if you guys want to find me,
Facebook group too.
Yes, I'll post it to my Instagram, which is, my handle is @misscakes.art. I think Katie's going to type that into the chat. And then I'm going to also post it to the Facebook, Jerry's Live Facebook group. So if you're not part of the group, it's Jerry's Live Facebook group. And in order to get into the group as a member, because it's anybody's welcome, but you do have to answer one security question. And if you don't answer that one security question, you are deemed a robot and I'm not allowed to let you in. One day I will have robots, but until then, no. Procrastination notwithstanding is to live to 2076 with USA. Tricentennial. That is awesome. 112 years old. Listen, me and you will be there. It's a goal. It's a goal. Portuguese is hard. Yes. Yes, Portuguese is very difficult to learn. One of the words that I remembered in Portuguese that will always be in my brain, sofa. I know how to say couch in Portuguese, and that is sofa. And I think, what is it, cup is copo? But then, like, I have to learn French because of my residency, and then it's hard, guys. I will get there. All right, I think this color is popped in enough areas to get away with it for now. Except for this one little spot. I always say these things and I'm like, oh, but over here. So what's lovely is if you have the nice orangey, yellowy tones, the cadmiums, like I did, I'll lay down over here. Anywhere where you pop in these purples, it looks like a nice dark shadowy cloud kind of rolling through. And I just want to like fluff these a little bit. With light little fluffy brush strokes kind of a thing. So copo is glass. Ah, cup is, oh geez, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce it. Yeah, but I do remember the copo. The few things that my friends taught me that I remembered that are not bad words that I'm not allowed to say on here. Because of course, when you learn a language from people who are in their 20s, is the bad words. That's the very first thing that everyone always teaches you. It's not good, because that I remembered that perfectly, but I can't say those words on here. Plus, I only reserve those words for select few situations. Like when I stub my toe. And then all bets are lost. Like if I were to stub my toe on the show, I don't know if I can like curve my mouth. Alright. Keep all this nice and light and fluffy. Divano in Italian, but sometimes you use sofa. That's awesome. I mean, we call couches sofas too. I mean, I feel like that's the most universal word for it. Sofa. I need to address this big chunk of like blue that I haven't touched really. Structure of a French class at a local community college. That's true. See, I took French in high school, so I took 2 semesters of it, and that was before I started fiddling with any other language. So that's the one I am probably the most familiar with in like a studious kind of way, where I actually did take legitimate classes on it. I just retained a whole lot of nada. Very similar. That's awesome.
I'm sure you'll learn a lot when you're there.
Yes,
That's the best way to learn it.
That is the absolute best way to learn a language, is to be just immersed in the culture and with the people and practicing it every day. Oh yeah, over here, where I was saying I was going to deal with this section, but then just immediately left the section of paint that I was working on. Anybody else do that too? Like, oh, I'm going to paint this, and then you go over here. I feel like it's artistic ADHD, and I'm okay with that. It's getting a little dark. Alright. Pop some oranges back in there. I will not procrastinate 500 times. Did you procrastinate about writing I will not procrastinate? Ah! Because I would have.
Procrastinate on that, yeah.
I'd be like, I'll do it later. Oh man, that's why my teachers had a field day with me. I also think I was considered the class clown of the whole class, because I thought I was hilarious. My poor teachers. See, great minds think alike. Hope you procrastinated on that task. That's great. We all are very similar, I think. So I'm not actually really mixing anything on my palette, or on my canvas here. Well, not much anyway. Mostly just laying down like chunks of color and then leaving it. And if it slightly mixes on the canvas, then I'm okay with that. But for the most part, I'm not mixing it. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm right up on the painting, but one thing I do love about doing the video is that I can look up and there's a screen in front of me so I can see what I'm doing. It looks so much better from afar. Alright, now I need to clean off all the cool colors off of my brush. Which I always do this. I always go straight into my spike oil to get it mostly off, but I really should take most of my pigments off on my rag. I always forget that. This is why I end up having to clean out my spike oil, the sludge from the bottom of the can, more often than I probably need to. Love skyscapes. Which mediums are easiest to begin with? Aiming for a photorealistic rendition of the lights and darks of clouds. That is such a personal preference question. If you are most familiar with acrylics, acrylics is going to be the easiest for you. If you're the most familiar with watercolors, that's going to be the easiest for you. Oils, the same thing. If you are working in specifically oils, I would say just continue the same process that you're doing. Just, again, start off with a nice light wash, find your drawing, like I did for that Lady Liberty painting where I was actually scrubbing it out with the spike oil and then putting darker shades of that color back in and making sure that my drawing, my initial first kind of step of my painting was established, because then I didn't have to worry about the realism of where things were placed in proportion to other things. All I had to do then was more pay attention to the value structure and the temperature of the color and how saturated it was or desaturated, that kind of thing. But there's no such thing as photorealistic. That's, I mean, yes, no, kind of, I mean, it's, but yeah, no, that's a good point. You definitely need to look at it with your eyeballs, and remember, everyone's eyes are different. You know, what I'm seeing is going to be very different from what you're seeing. It's same thing with camera or the computer screens. One screen might be totally different from another just because it's kind of set up slightly differently. Yeah, soft gel, gloss works well. Acrylics are really good if you use glazes, so any glazing medium that you use is really nice to do. I like a satin glazing medium just because it lets me do those lighter washes without having to really worry about a crazy sheen, kind of an issue. But if I'm working in oils, I still use the spike oil, just like I'm doing with this one. Not yet well versed with any paint over the other, and that's okay. You just need to start using it. That's the cool thing about art, is that you can paint it, and if you don't like it, you can paint on top of it, and then you can keep painting on top of it if you don't like it. But the best thing to do is just to start practicing now. Start getting acquainted with your mediums, or with your media. Like if you're gonna try to use acrylics or if you're gonna try to use oils, start. Don't let the medium stop you because you're just like, ooh, I don't know how it's gonna work. Well, the only way to figure out how it's gonna work is to actually put your hands into it and start using the medium. Go into it fearless. That's my best plan of attack, is to just do it. Not like Thomas Kincaid, skyscapes and what it appears to be closer at the, yeah, I mean, more of like a realistic photo, or not photorealistic, but just something that is more real than like a cartoony kind of a rendering. I understand that. Like, this isn't photorealistic, this is definitely really painterly, but yeah, I mean, every painter and every artist is different with the marks that they make on the canvas. My marks are going to look very different from yours, and that's okay. But like I said, if you're going to be using oils or if you're going to be using acrylics, just jump into it, do it. And if you don't like it and you don't think it looks great, that's okay. You don't have to show anybody. But the worst thing you could do is just not do it because you're just like, ooh, it's not going to look good. a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say that it's not going to look good, it's not going to look good. Especially if you just don't do it.
Also, none of them look good until they do.
Yes, Katie has a saying, is that you have to just work through the ugly. There's always an ugly stage of art. And you just gotta work through it, and that's okay. Oh yeah. Getting things and then just not using it. You gotta use your art supplies. They will not last forever, and
they're not precious.
They're not precious. You can always get more. The worst thing you can do to an art supply is to let it sit on a table or sit on a shelf and just not be used. Its whole purpose in life is to make pretty art or ugly art or art just in general. It's okay if it's ugly. Just let the paint fulfill its purpose. Yep, you have to see what is ugly so you can stop doing it. That's a great point. Let me make sure. So, with just starting is a great thing, but like when it comes to paint, are you more inclined to using acrylics or oils or watercolors? What's your medium that you're looking to start with? Because you should start with one and see how you like it and then kind of go from there. So let me know which one it is that you're looking for. How long before the ugly goes away? That depends on the art. Sometimes it takes my paintings a really long time to get out of the ugly stage. But you just gotta keep going. 3 stages of painting. Making sure I'm not missing anything. All right. Oh, this peachy color, I love it. I feel like I still need to pop in some more like real funky magentas in here, you know? Can hang out for however long you want. Yes, Suzanne! Alright, so I can sit here and paint the sky all day, every day, but I think I do need to address this chunk down here eventually. The part where my trees are supposed to be in. So let me clean off my brush and then I'll get some trees in here. As I continue to paint. Alright, for real. Trees. So let me, should be using the brush cleaner. Ooh, but it's not open right now. Alright, let me pop that down. So, remember I said the reason why I use a glass palette is because I use a scraper. Just to clean off a chunk where I need a dark mixed. Now I'm not going to really get rid of that paint. I'm going to actually leave it on there because I can still use that. And the really fun thing is that when you start scraping off your paint like this, you can end up with some really fun colors. But I'm going to take my easy wiper and wipe it off easy. That sounds like it should be a commercial. Ah. Alright, so remember this is burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. A little bit more blue than burnt sienna. Hanging until you guys kick me out. Me too. Alright, so there's my 2 colors mixed together. which will give me a chromatic black, which is, if I started mixing in a little bit of white, just so you guys can see kind of the tones, the undertones of this, is a nice neutral gray. So it's very similar to my palette here. Let me actually pull that up so you guys can see. So there's the black that I just mixed using burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I mixed a little titanium white in here so you can see the undertones, but it's a nice neutral gray. And it's lovely. And my personal way that I use black, I don't actually usually put black on my palette. I could, I don't. It's just personal preference. It's not bad if you use black. Just saying that. Black is not bad, but it's just not something I do. All right. That tree branch. Ooh, I need a steady hand for this. It's hard to do it from this angle. Hide your mistakes with leaves. Fun fact. Haven't painted since you were a kid. Okay, so if you want to start painting, I would say a really good starting point is acrylic. It's a really nice medium to start with as a beginner. Remember, it does dry fast, which is why a lot of people tend to like it, and also why a lot of people tend to hate it. So it just depends on you. If you are looking for a set of paints that you want to kind of start to use to just kind of test out the waters, I would shoot for something that is either called studio paint or something that's student grade. That way you're not spending a ton of money on something that is not a medium you like. But those are not as expensive as the professional levels of art supplies. So it won't really break the bank. But if you start getting like sets and things like that, I need a bigger brush. Those will give you a good variety of colors that usually will give you kind of an idea of whether or not you like the medium, you know? I definitely need a bigger brush for this. All right, there's a house right here. But just be aware that the student grade paints aren't as nice as professional ones, so you are probably going to be fighting it a little bit more than you would, say, if you were using a professional level paint. It's a give and take, but I hate telling people to buy really expensive stuff when they don't even know if they like it, you know? It's hard to invest that much money on something that you're like, nah, it's alright. I'm going to kind of make this just a silhouette. Go with it. All right. Trying to make sure I don't miss any comments here. Again, with the tree line, if you mess it up, no one's gonna know. How would they know? No one's gonna know.
About to kick you out, so.
All right, guys, they're about to boot me off here.
Any last questions?
Any last questions, pop them in the comments. I will make sure to go back and check them. Let me see. I do like to sketch with pencil. Pencil's great. Colored pencils, you should also work with that. I just had a colored pencil show. You can go back and watch that. It's a lot of fun. Photography, do nail art, nice. You should try paintings. If you are familiar with nail art, then you probably would transition into acrylics a lot easier. But like I said, go for something that's like a student grade or a studio, something that's on the less expensive side. So then you can get kind of a feel for it. There's the Soho acrylics are a nice student grade. And that would give you a good variety of colors. You can kind of test it out that way. But I will, again, remember guys, I'm going to post this into my Instagram and the Jerry's Live Facebook group, so if you want to see the end results, because I'm going to continue painting. But you guys, oh yeah, Liquitex Basics is also really good, like Tootie said. I love that name, that's awesome. Yeah, Liquitex is great. You want something that is not the lowest of the low, cheapest cheap paint. Those are the ones you're going to fight with a lot. Those are not fun to use, but I would say
art store.
Yes,
not Walmart.
If you go to an art store like Jerry's Artorama and go into the actual brick and mortar store, that's a really good way of being able to talk to people who are around the art supplies all the time, and they should be able to guide you to the right stuff. Now, if you can't get to an actual brick and mortar store, again, you can always reach out to me. You can reach out to me on the Instagrams, which is, again, misscakes.art, or you can reach out to me on the Facebook Jerry's Live host page, which is, I have my own personal host page, which is Emmy, host of Jerry's Live. You can direct message me that way, and I can absolutely try to guide you to get to where you would be able to be comfortable in trying art supplies. Or if you just want to say hi, you can do that too. Yes, I will absolutely post this. Procrastination for the win. That's great. All right. Liquitex Basics. Love that. But that, I think, is all the time we have, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And remember, I will be back in 2 weeks' time to do another open studio hours. I'm not going to be specifically working on oils or anything. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to be doing my normal everyday job, which is this. And then you guys can absolutely pop in and say hello and see what I'm doing that day and ask any art questions that you've had just floating around in your head. But feel free to also reach out to me direct on Facebook or Instagram. I will be available. Feel free. But that was Open Studio Hours. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. I'm going to continue paint though. So, you can't kick me out of the studio. Ha ha ha.